In today's episode, we have a special guest here to talk about his 7-year-old Dragon Break theory, and how that theory was taken credit for by several different entities throughout the years. Though, the idea was clearly his. I'm your host, Moxie, and this is Mox Talks, the show where we connect with incredible personalities in the Zelda community, and dive deep into the realms of The Legend of Zelda, lore, storytelling, and magic. Our next guest is none other than Captain Burgerson, the Zelda aficionado extraordinaire. Welcome, Captain Burgerson.
Ooh, yeah, baby.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, so, okay. First off, hi, how you doing? How was dinner?
I'm good. It was food. It was good. Yeah.
What'd you have?
It was honestly a very boring salad, actually, but it was good.
A boring salad? Like, what constitutes
boring salad?
boring salad?
It was like the most whipped together, fast dinner I could possibly have put together. So it was like literally
Like, just like dressing
like
and like
and dressing and like cucumber, tomato, and some cheese and some.
All right, so I want to talk to you today about your Dragon Break theory. Like, can you explain to me what Dragon Break is?
Okay, well, yeah. So the theory was initially sort of conceived by some happenstance that came up in about 2016. It was at the time leading up to Breath of the Wild's launch. So we had like just come out of E3 that previous year, and that was all the footage that we had basically of the game. But actually it was quite a lot of footage because it was like all of the Great Plateau section was shown. But
I didn't actually watch that, if that makes sense. Like, I was in school and I was like, if I pay attention to this 4-hour gameplay release, I'm going to just sink in and melt and like not pay attention to school at all. I was like, I need to ignore it. I just need to ignore
that's
it.
fair. I was at the time on my computer's like, hey, let's do a software update. Not now, bro. Sorry.
Please, not now.
No, not now. No, at the time, I was not in school, so I had no such concern, I guess. So I sat like that day. I remember they were doing like the Nintendo Trios thing. I was like perched at my desk the whole day, just intaking it all. Now I luckily had the day off, but that was my day basically. But yeah, the theory was essentially I couldn't figure out where this game actually fit in the Zelda timeline. We knew after Ocarina of Time because Aonuma said as much in an interview. Like someone straight up asked him, "Is this game before or after Ocarina of Time?" And he said after. So I was like, okay, we know that much. But that means that files into one of the 3 like timeline splits. And I just like couldn't land on any one because Zelda theory wise, I'm a pretty methodical guy. I like to think in that I have like a process, and I don't like ever like favoring some evidence over another or like willfully ignoring evidence to like support whatever outcome I want. And some people do that. They just like kind of cherry pick or whatever. I'm not naming names, of course, but that kind of thing just like it doesn't fly in my head because I'll always have that sort of nagging voice in the back of my head that's going to be like, hey, but what about this thing?
And then there's people that discredit like the whole book for like Hyrule Historia or the encyclopedia. They're like, the whole book is now not canon because there's discrepancies in it.
Right.
And some of the discrepancies are legitimate.
Some are, yeah. But the games have discrepancies. That's not a new thing, right? So
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, so for me, like I just couldn't bring myself to like ignore some evidence just to like choose a clean spot. And at the time I happened to be replaying through Skyrim, which is the 5th Elder Scrolls game. And Elder Scrolls and myself go back. We go way back. I one of my first games ever, which I was probably too young to be playing, was Daggerfall, which is the second Elder Scrolls game. And I was like little. I wasn't good enough to actually be doing anything at the time. I'd just like go around and kill some skeleton dudes and, you know, kind of wander around. But I don't know, just my brain kind of got percolating. Like I was playing this one game and then I was waiting for this other game, this Zelda game. And
It just got your brain like jogging. Like you're like, wait, what if these two things, like what, maybe they're trying to reconverge it. Because it does make sense from like your perspective of like a dragon break, which would like allow people like the Zoomer generation, right? Because we're like the old generation. Let's be honest here.
We are old people.
We've played all the games, right? So I mean, except for like I don't know, you know, Phantom Hourglass, but you know that's neither here nor there. But like we have come from the context of playing like most, if not all, of the games, and then you have all these Zoomers coming in who have only played Breath of the Wild. Maybe they've played like Twilight Princess, or all the 3D titles, because they're all starting to come out on, you know, the Switch. But I think to lessen confusion, you know, maybe they're trying to, I could see that perspective, like maybe they're trying to remerge it so that way, you know, it allows people to come in with like an understanding, but if they want more context, they can go back, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the Dragon Break, like that terminology comes from Elder Scrolls, but it basically is timeline convergence. Just Dragon Break has like a nice ring to it, I guess. but
is it also like 3 timelines, or like I kind of like watched some of that video? Dude, it's like 8 timelines, or is it 3?
Elder Scrolls, it's like 13. It's like ridiculous. It's gross. Like so basically it's like Daggerfall has like multiple endings, and then when they were doing Morrowind, which is the 3rd game, I guess instead of just choosing like which one's the canon ending, they were just like, screw it, it's all canon. So they made up an explanation, which is the Dragon Break, which is like a timeline split and then timeline reconverged.
And I think that helps lessen complexity of the timelines, because when you start, it gets hard for the people working there to even keep track of their own stuff, right? I actually recently came across something at Nintendo that said something to that effect of like they were having trouble you know, kind of keeping their own story straight, like because everybody who comes on to the Zelda team has to learn like everything, right? They're like you know, put in the loop on the lore and like how that all works, but Alnuma's old, and you know, just kind of doing a summarized version of the timeline, which is kind of what I could see that perspective. Like I haven't made my own headcanon yet, but like I can definitely see the perspective of like, okay, we're going to like replay all these events through memories. So that way everyone's caught up, I guess. But you know.
Yeah, it's, it felt like to me a cleaner explanation than just picking one and writing everything else off, because, I always say like convergences have technically like happened in the Zelda series before.
Can you elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean?
So like time travel happens in this series a lot. It's like, it's a staple. But
we've had this conversation before about like Skyward Sword, and like I was completely not convinced. Like I'm still not completely convinced, but like, fair. Why do you think that like that Skyward Sword is a closed loop? Like, what gives you that perspective?
Well, it's like, I don't know, that just seems to be where the evidence points in my head. Like, it's when you go back in time.
Walk me through it. Like I'm 5 years old, and I like you know, like just talk me through it. Like, how do I know?
So like Link kills Demise in the present day of he kills the imprisoned, who is Demise, in the present day of Skyward Sword, and then he goes back in time and kills him again in the past, and like that should cause a total paradox, but it doesn't. When he comes back to the present day, like it's still his original timeline. Like, it's still like his present day. Like the Master Sword he left in the past is still there, and then Impa had the bracelet Zelda left behind, and the goddess statue still came down, which it only did because of the wish he made to eradicate Demise. And just like the credits take you through all these like scenery, all these locations, and it's like, this is all the stuff, like places we've been to, like it all still just happened the same way. And like if Demise had died in the past there, like none of those events would have been set into motion in the present day. Girahim would have never brought Zelda down to Earth or anything. So I don't know. For me, it's like, it seems to be like some weird shenanigans where somehow he died twice, and it all happened. So it's all timey-wimey.
I feel like they could leave the door open though to like go back and be like, ha, we actually did. That's kind of how I feel about it, is like maybe they're gonna like pull a tricky on us and be like, you weren't paying attention, but like, yeah, we actually slipped another timeline. And that's why I kind of remain skeptical of like, I can see both perspectives, you know, like I can see the whole closed loop idea, or that like everything that has ever been always was. Like I can see that perspective, you know, but I'm not completely sold on that perspective because of the little asterisks at the bottom of the timeline. You know, the whole we can change anything whenever we want. It's like, okay, well,
I mean, that's the thing too, is that like some people get really nitpicky about like what is and isn't canon, or what, like not Zelda, but like Star Wars fans are. I love Star Wars, but Star Wars fans are ridiculous. They're like, these movies aren't canon because I don't like them, and I'm like, well, that's not for you to decide, buddy, right? Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I find sometimes people get really stingy about that, and I'm not like this is my headcanon, this is my theory. But like if Nintendo came out and said like, actually, here's the deal, I would be like, all right, that I don't like it or whatever, but like that's the deal. And actually, you know what, that happened before was the whole Downfall timeline. When Hyrule Historia came out, I was like adamantly opposed to that. I was like, that's not good. But I just kind of had to learn to accept it, and that's what's canon. Okay, if that's what's canon, that's what's canon. So yeah, like it just is what it is.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, and like, dude, when that happened, like so this is another we're old people moment here, because like sometimes people will be like, oh, Skyward Sword was one of my favorite games from my childhood.
It's an interactive story. It's great.
I was an adult living on my own when I played that game for the first time, and not because I was, you know, catching up or whatever. Like it was brand new. That was the first Zelda game I played like as a bachelor, like not living at home. Man, it was wild. But shout out to my brother Nathan for buying me that for Christmas that year. So, but
that is awesome. Like, so you didn't play it till like what year would you say?
Yeah, the year it came out, I guess 2011.
Yeah, 2011. Okay.
Yeah. So, but I was I was living on my own. I was a bachelor, or well, I would say bachelor. I was in a relationship, but I
was like 17 when that came out.
I guess I would have been 18 or 17. No, I would have been 18 at the time too. But I moved out. I guess caveat here is I moved out when I was 17. So there is that.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
But I had a household that I just couldn't like live in anymore, so I had to move out. Basically.
No, that's fair. I mean,
it's a whole situation.
So you like move out, and then you like finally like get your hands on this game, brand new game.
Yeah.
And you're like, hell yeah. So like, you know, you're like sitting on the floor of your brand new apartment with like a futon, right? Or whatever. Like, I'm ready to gear this game up.
I was working in a movie theater. It was my first job, and I would like come home from work, and it's like 1 a.m. and then I'd stay up till like 4 a.m. playing the game until I'm ready to pass out. But yeah, man, I had my bedroom wall in that apartment. I had like sticky notes all over the wall of like me trying to figure out this timeline, and then the book just comes out. Like I didn't know it was coming out. Like
really,
I wasn't like expecting it. It just like saw like this book is out now, and I was like, what? And then I had to like,
this book is out.
Yeah, and then it had like the official timeline.
So you didn't know that it was going to come out? Like I was aware of it because they had done some hype articles on different sites about how the timeline, like, because that was like incentive to buy the book, was like they started like hyping up that there would be a timeline in it. So like they like around pre-order time of the books. So like I knew about it and like pre-ordered it. That's how I found out.
I did not know until it was out, and then I saw it in stores, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I wasn't heavily invested. I had
the wall of sticky notes, man. I was a real mess of a human.
I was heavily invested in the whole timeline thing, like because I was reading the forums. I couldn't make my. I mean, I'm still the same way I used to be. Like I can't make my own. Like there's just not enough like information to go off of. So I don't like making my own like conjecture based off of that. It's just like if the evidence stacks up correctly and like I can see clear
cleared lines between that aren't confusing, then I'm like, yeah, that's like the least confusing. Like the Occam, I like taking the Occam's razor of it. So like I always loved reading the forums and stuff. Like the Dragon Break is kind of like the leading one that makes sense to me. Like you save over your original save file, you know? She went back to the beginning, she hands over the technology to Minoru, which kind of like, to me, that's like changing the past, which kind of forms a new timeline. I could see it Dragon Breaking it, kind of like reforming it from the beginning all the way through. I could see that. I could also see, you know, like it reconverged like 10,000 years ago argument. I could see, you know, the only argument I cannot see is the whole like, oh, Tears of the Kingdom was founded after all the events of the other 3 timelines. Like,
oh, like the Roru and Sonia like refounding Hyrule, like as a second Hyrule,
no,
or third, depending.
No,
I
can't get behind that one. I'm sorry.
I've heard some very good arguments, and our friend Wiz, Wiz Catches Lightning
did an excellent
has some
one.
great
crackpot. It's so crackpot, man. It's like beyond. But I mean, I'm here for it. He does bring up some compelling evidence. It doesn't.
Sure,
it's the one that I just can't get behind.
Well, so.
I do too. It's compelling, but it's like me being like a boomer. I'm like, you can't just say these are all just legends. Anyway, it's like, and that's part of his argument is saying that they're not just legends, and that they have if you want it to make sense, then it has to take place after all of the other ones, in order for everything to make sense.
What a lot of people kind of overlook is like a lot of people who are Zelda fans now, who are even like Zelda fans who are adults now, like grew up with like this established timeline, and we and I don't mean to sound gatekeepy here,
no,
like we older fans, like we did not have that. Like there were like heated timeline debates online about
like on
the whole
like
series,
Zelda
the way that
Informer,
there is
like on like on like old sites, like there was like intense debates over this, like bringing up a dual timeline
were you
theory.
Like team linearist or team splittist? Because those were like the two. I was always a splittist.
I was always a splittist. I was like, it doesn't make sense, and otherwise, like it has to be a split.
Some people were really adamant.
They were so mad about it being split. They're like, no, impossible. I feel like Team Splittist was still only like there's only 2 times. There's like it goes from 1 to 2, and like that was like the bound. And then they're like, haha, but it was 3. And it's like
3?
All of us had our minds blown because like everyone was just like, wait, what? You know? So it was like
that was the thing. Yeah, my wall of sticky notes did not account for there being a downfall timeline. Like I had basically placed the whole downfall timeline in the child timeline, and that was kind of like the adult timeline was just kind of the 3 games, like Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks, and everything else kind of fell into this child timeline, or that's what I thought at the time, right? Because like who could have seen that coming? So I guess to your credit with this whole Skyward Sword split thing, like I haven't really come to terms with it, or I haven't, but like Nintendo could just pull it out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, this is what's canon, just like they did with the downfall timeline, and like we just have to accept it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm willing to. That's why I haven't formed a headcanon exactly, is because like, why? I don't remember whose video exactly. Like I'll probably throw it up on the screen after this, but like in a person's video that I viewed recently, they brought up like why, I think it was Gamesmith. He brought up like why establish the timeline so heavily, like why bring up like why bring up like the whole timeline thing so heavily throughout, you know, the past games, and harp on them and like establish it. Like why even establish it to begin with? Like why ruin your franchise like that? But like his thing is like maybe they made the timeline so they could break it later on. I could see that too.
It's an interesting thought. I mean, I think I don't think they like made it in one go. I really think it was like as they made a game, they just tried to like place it in with the others somewhere. Like, I'm so sorry if you can hear my cat.
It's okay. I was gonna say, wow.
she's needy. But like, you know, they make Zelda 1 and then they make Zelda 2, so it's like, okay, there's a sequel. So here's our start of our timeline. And they're like, okay, well, we're gonna make a 3rd game, and it's a prequel. So then we have a prequel, and then okay, now we're making another game. It's a sequel to that one we just made. So then we got Link's Awakening in there. And so like I think it's just like they just kind of kept adding it. They were just making it up as they go, but they kind of just kept adding it as they went along. I don't think there was one day where they sat down in a boardroom and were like, hey, we've got these 20 games, how do we fit them all together? And then they started playing darts with it or whatever. I really think it was just like they just kind of kept putting it as they were going.
Well, I think that they have like some kind of established,
maybe,
you know, like because it would be like they'd be like long ago, right? Or like
right.
in ancient times or in times of antiquity. So they kind of did know what they were going for. Like they might not have like they knew in their like heads maybe like, okay, like, or maybe they did have like an established thing in the boardroom, just like, here's our like roughly established timeline, you know, like these events roughly take place here and then this happens and then this happens, because they had to, they, you know, like there's no way they didn't know like at least the order of events, maybe not when they happened or whatever.
But I just mean like when they were developing Ocarina of Time, I don't think they were like, oh, where does this fit in with the Wind Waker?
No way.
Because they hadn't even thought of that yet. I think they were just kind of like adding it as they go on. I think they often were trying to connect things to like one of the latest games, or actually usually it was Ocarina of Time. Well, once that game came out, they were like just reconnecting everything back to that mostly.
I think it's part of it's just like coming from the you know, homie, not Onuma, but the guy Miyamoto's just allergic to story, you know, like
he a little bit is,
yeah. And so I think it just comes from the gameplay first perspective. Like we're gonna make gameplay, and then you can figure out all the lore stuff. Don't you dare include a side quest. Don't you dare have more dialogue. Like,
right?
Like how many dialogue boxes? More than 5? Wow, you think someone's gonna read all of this? Too many. You know, yeah. So it's.
No, that's a good point. I also forgot what I was about to say. So
environmental storytelling being pinnacle. I think that's like they want like maybe they have like a story established, and they want to be able to show that more through the gameplay than through dialogue, and that because like the whole Miyamoto's allergic to story. Like if you understand that perspective, then you can kind of see how the timeline could get messy from there. You know,
for sure. Yeah, and it's like, I think you've got some like conflicting perspectives within their development team, because you've got like, I think Fujibayashi is a storyteller. Like I really think games he's involved in, he there's like,
well, he came in to fix what was broken when they decided, snap, like, well, maybe we should really sit down and like establish this for the. It seems like people are getting confused and fighting over it. So I feel like Fujibayashi was brought in kind of during that time whenever they were like, how do we like, because like Ocarina of Time happens and they're like, you know, like this is a monumental. We have all this money now. What do we do with it? And then, you know, people wanted more story and they wanted to understand more. And I think that's where they brought Fujibayashi in, is like, you know, kind of as that guy to like be like, okay, like how can we fix this? Because we're banging our heads against the wall. We're developers. We're not like storytellers like that exactly, man. We kind of know what we want, but we need somebody who's like a writer to come in and like fix this, you know, not like a computer developer type. Like they're good at what they do, right? But like, you know, you have to bring people in who are also very good like with the writing side of it, right? Like to make it make sense to
for sure
a group of people.
I would love to see Yoshiaki Koizumi have another go, because the 2 Zelda games he's been involved in, guess what they are?
I don't know.
He has been involved in the story of Link's Awakening and Majora's Mask, and that's it.
Really? Okay, wait. And I might have heard of this guy, maybe at some point.
I saw an interview recently where he said that Miyamoto was like, no, you can't do that again because things got too weird when you step into Zelda. And I'm like, no, but those are great games.
Those are so good.
Those are so
Link's
good.
Awakening is my favorite, man. Like it's like my favorite game.
Yeah. I mean, those are both like super weird Zelda games, but they're so good. Like that's what's good about them, is that they're just so bonkers and just kind of off the walls in many ways, but also like tragic. But they both have like an air of tragedy about them. So
and I think they're trying to lean back that direction. I think that's where they're trying to, because they're realizing that people like, you know, kind of dark, spooky stories. Like everybody likes a spooky story. That's
true.
And I think they're trying to get that, but they also, I mean,
Nintendo is as friendly as it gets. So like they want to make something. I mean, the Gloom hands are pushing it, man. I'm not gonna lie. Someone was like, "Would you let your kid? Should my kid play this?" Like they're like 11. I'm like, it depends on how much they like spooky stuff.
As a kid, I think. Yeah. That's something you kind of have to know your kid and make a judgment call about.
I said, like, watch me play for a couple minutes. I'm going to go find these hands. They're like, oh, those? Yeah, there's no way. I'm like, yeah. So maybe don't have your child play this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, my son, I'm a dad for those who don't know. My son's 10. But last year, for his first time, he beat Ocarina of Time. And I knew he could get through this with the Gloom hands and stuff because he got through Bottom of the Well and Shadow Temple just fine. So,
which I mean,
it's
kind of spooky, kind of scary.
Yeah, those places. Well, especially because it's toned down in the 3DS version, but this was the N64 version he played. So, like that game has a whole vibe. I think when I was a kid, I was, for lack of better words, I was scared shitless of the Bottom of the Well.
I mean,
yeah, I was terrified, and I remember one of my first times playing Ocarina of Time. Like, the really scary bits are the ones that stick with you.
Yeah, like when you have to fall down that hole at the very end of the temple, and then you fall into Bongo Bongo's.
Yeah.
Like you fall on the drum, and then just out of the dark, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's just like, oh my god, like you're the most terrifying thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the first time, when you come out of the Temple of Time for the first time as adult Link.
Oh,
and then you walk out and it's like, ooh, the air, like there's no music, there's no happy Castletown music, it's just the air's going around you, and Death Mountain looks all screwed up, and you walk out of Castletown and it's all destroyed and it's just redeads.
You see the redeads.
I legit got so scared, I hid behind our couch and I begged my older brother to just take the controller and just get me out of that area, like kill the enemies, whatever you got to do, just get me out of there. And I was like so terrified.
How old were you when you played Ocarina of Time?
Shit, it was 1990. It was 99. So I would have been 6, I guess.
Wow. I mean, that's young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
6 years old? Yeah, I would have been, oh yeah. Please, get me out of here. I could just see it.
Yeah.
Little Burgerson just hiding.
I always remember that was when we got our N64, was 99, because we got,
and that was part of the launch,
one
right?
That came
Ocarina
out with
Time.
And Ocarina of Time, I guess, had been out for a year then, because it came out in 98. But we got ours with, it was like Donkey Kong 64. That game came out, and there was the console, it had that and the RAM expansion, and it was like a whole bundle. So that's always how I remember it was 1999 that we got that. So I have weird ways of remembering dates. Also, according to my wife, I have a very good memory. So there is that.
I mean, you do have a crazy memory, especially for the games. I'm always impressed by how much you know about Zelda. I mean, it makes sense since you've been playing it since you were 6, but still
well, younger even, because Ocarina of Time wasn't my first Zelda game. A Link to the Past was. So yeah, man, I don't know. I I think part of it as well is I really got to know these games because, just to get real for a moment, I grew up dirt poor. We were impoverished, and the only reason we had video games was because my grandparents would occasionally buy them for us.
Oh, that's sweet.
But we had very few games, so I kind of learned at a young age to kind of be content with very few things, I guess, or very few games.
So you replayed Ocarina of Time 16 and a half times is what you're saying to me.
Basically, so many times. I just played these games, the same games. So yeah, because we had 3 N64 games. We had Donkey Kong 64, we had Star Wars Pod Racer, and Ocarina of Time.
They knew not to get Mario Party. They're like, well, we do not want fights in this house. No. We do not want fights in this house.
Yeah, exactly. And we played some other games because I remember I borrowed Mario 64 from one of my neighbors to play that, and I think one of my brother's friends lent us Star Fox 64 at some point, which is a great game. Well, both of those are, but yeah, so the first time I beat Mario 64, was actually when it came out on Switch, because I'd always borrowed it and never finished it. So yeah, man, like it's just like it's weird because now I'm like, okay, now I live comfortably and I can have all these video games, and maybe I buy too many video games because I grew up having to play the same like 2 or 3 games over.
Yeah,
and
you had to
over.
like value the same ones. And like if you actually just spend time just like walking around Ocarina of Time, I mean, I don't know about you, but like when there was that whole like the Triforce is in the game hunt, like I don't know if you remember that, but like people on the internet started talking about how the Triforce was in the game, and it's like, so there's just this manhunt like trying to clip through walls and stuff. Like
yeah, I never really like delved into that, I guess, because I wasn't like on the internet a lot, I guess, at that like when that was like at its height. Yeah, I really mostly started actually being online in like 2007. Yeah, but which is weird because like thinking back, like I don't know, my life is like a weird rush, a blur of events like that. There's like long stretches of nothing, and then there's like 50 jillion things that happen in like 2 years. So, but yeah, like I guess I just like got super familiar with the games I had, and then with Zelda, obviously it became a bit of an obsession for me. So whenever we got a new one, it was like, oh, I definitely got to have that. And then I'd play it like I said, religiously, like even Breath of the Wild, even though it was like I was an adult doing just fine, you know.
Like, have you 100%ed it already? I've never.
Tears of the Kingdom?
No.
Or Breath of the Wild?
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, I 100%ed it multiple times, like at least 4 times.
That's crazy, man. Like I can't get past. I have 600 Korok seeds. I still haven't 100% my first playthrough. Like
really?
it blows my mind that people have done that. Yeah, like because I like try to find everything like as legit as possible. So like I still haven't found all the Koroks. I sent my Switch to my sister, so she could play Tears of the Kingdom. She didn't have to.
You trust your siblings more than I do, so
I trust my sister because she knows that I will like take off her freaking left ear if she tries to like ever touch like ever mess with my Switch, because she just knows that I value my stuff, and we have that understanding. So I'm like,
that's good.
Because like I just want her to play it so badly. It's like what's the worst thing she could do to it? She can't mess up the internal memory. She can't.
That's
I mean,
fair.
Like she would have to really try hard. So
yeah, I remember I lent I only played Link's Awakening the first time in 2015 when I found a Game Boy cart at a used game store, and I was like, oh, I gotta get this because it's been on my list for ages. And I bought that game, and I never had a Game Boy growing up either, so I actually played it on my wife's Game Boy. And great game. Link's Awakening is awesome.
Oh, it's so good, dude. It's my favorite.
Yeah,
it's my
I lent
favorite.
one of my brothers the copy because he asked nicely.
Did you ever get it back?
I lent it to him. I got it. I lent it to him. It was probably 2016 or something. I got it back from him. I remember asking it back, like, hey, can you give us back because I want to make content with it when the remake was announced. And then he's like, yeah, I'll give it back to you. I got it back from him like a year ago. I was like, holy shit, dude.
You still have it, right?
Yeah, I do have it, thankfully. So like it wasn't lost or anything, but it was just like he just held on to it for like God knows
so
like
long.
so many years. Long. Even after I asked him for it back, it's like, dude, come on, man. So I never made any comparison videos comparing the remake to the original.
I would love to see something like that because like the original is I really have like I still have the original copy. Like I have such like a fond place in my heart for Link's Awakening. Like it's just such a good game, and I feel like people sleep on it like really hard.
Yeah, you know, and it was I was on a guest on another podcast, actually on the Nintendo Prime podcast the other week, and not to call anyone out, but I'm gonna call people out. HMK was also a guest on there. I can call him out. It was on a public podcast. People can watch it and see.
Yeah, I'll link it down in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that Link's Awakening was overrated, and I was just like shocked. I was like, dude, how? and you know, it's a weird game, so it's not going to vibe with everybody. But I was like, whoa, that's a strong opinion. That's a spicy hot take. But we all have our hot takes.
Yeah, like I mean, how I don't understand why you would say it's overrated. Like it wasn't even rated, dude. Like no one even. What do you mean, man? Like no one talks about it. Like I feel like there's like 3 total videos on the internet about Link's Awakening. I mean, obviously that's not true, but like seriously, like no one talks about it. Hyperbole. It's so good. It's like actually a great game.
It is. I really think so, and it's like a very unique game.
Benoon and I were arguing the other day with it's like a real physical world or like not just a dream. Yeah, I told her it's both. Like a physical world while he's there, and then once the windfish wakes up, spoilers. Once the windfish wakes up, it's just like it's gone, right? And so that makes the world is physical because we interact with it, and Malin exists. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think we're on the same page with that because I say like the windfish is like a god, right?
They can make physical worlds that are temporary, like for some reason. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, exactly. So. We're on the same page. I don't need to preach to you about it. So.
No, man, I'm just for the viewers, like, just, like, just so they kind of, like, get where we stand on that. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people write these games off. And then the fact that it's, like, restated, kind of, in Phantom Hourglass. Because, I mean, like, even though I haven't played Phantom Hourglass, I definitely watched the playthrough. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, like, actually buying a copy, But, like in that basically the same thing happens but to multiple people. So it's like,
but the thing that like it's definitely a real place, like it's the same thing where it's like it was definitely a real place because at the end of it Linebeck leaves, like he leaves the dream world and comes into the physical world, but he was from there, so like he was a real person but it was a dream world, right? So like it's both, like it was a real place that was also a dream world. And then like Linebeck settles and like in Spirit Tracks you meet his grandson. So like, like he didn't just poof out of existence. Like he was a real dude. So yeah, man, it's
timelines, man. I think so. I think it's both too. And both. And I don't know, just the parallel worlds definitely interest me as well. Like I think there's 7 of them, and like I did more research on that Wheel of Yama. There's like 7 parallel worlds in that too. Which is
okay. So in Zelda, 7 parallel worlds. We got like the Sacred Realm.
Twilight
Termina.
Realm, Dark World.
Oh yeah. Low Rule,
Holodrum, Labrina, and Termina. Termina. And wait, no, we said that one. Labrina.
I always thought Holodrum and Labrina were just like other countries that were like outside of.
According to so it's a really confusing. I forget what page it is. I think it's like 37 or something like that. But of the encyclopedia, it just is like on the same page it lists it as a parallel world, but it also says it's in Hyrule on the same page. So it's literally conflicting. Like
that is a little confusing.
It's on the same page.
But the thing is, like, there's a part in that book that says like all of Hyrule in Zelda 1, like that map is like only the northern part of A Link to the Past's map. And I always thought that was weird because like the Zelda 2 map part, like that makes sense. They're like, oh, Hyrule in Zelda 1 is this corner of Zelda 2's map. And you show me and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then they're like, oh, Hyrule 1, like Zelda 1's Hyrule is just this chunk of A Link to the Past map. And I was like, you're basing that off the graveyard and that's it? Like, or I don't know, man. That seems weird, but I
spend too much time looking at these maps, man. Like, I don't know about you.
I do, man. I do.
I don't know about you, but these maps, like, there's something.
And that's
weird.
Another thing is a lot of younger fans talk about like, oh, Tears of the Kingdom's inconsistencies with like Breath of the Wild and the other games and stuff. And I'm like, look at these maps. Like, these inconsistencies are not a new thing, but like these other games are canon, right? Like, I don't know.
No, these are all just legends anyway. What do you mean?
They're all just man. Oh, yeah.
Is the Dragon Break still your headcanon since Tears of the Kingdom came out?
Yeah, and in a discussion video that you and I talked about before, or you were in the part 3 of it and a little bit at the tail end of part 2, but where in that long discussion video on my channel, Laurulian and Wiz and I were kind of shooting ideas, and we kind of talked about like the timeline convergence happens, we believe, because Zelda's usage of the Triforce when she goes back in time in Tears of the Kingdom causes that. without her even really realizing what she's doing. And so it's like, oh, she's the dragon of the dragon break. It was poetic. It was a poignant poetic moment. So it's a Zelda break now, I guess.
I mean, it makes sense in like, okay, so can you like explain for the audience exactly how you think the dragon break could work out with Tears of the Kingdom? Like, just, it doesn't have to be right, it doesn't have to be perfect, just like kind of like, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, so obviously, like pre-Breath of the Wild, this, like we said before, like there was all this evidence of like which timeline does Zelda fit into, and there's evidence for like literally all of them.
Yeah.
And so, I've heard people be like saying, "Oh, Breath of the Wild never even happened now in Tears of the Kingdom," and I'm like, that's crazy. that's literally
evidence in the game to. You mean like we talked about that too, like how there's the Hiteno schoolyard, you know.
Yeah, like the history lesson that Simon, is it Simon or Simon? I always say Simon, but a lot of people say Simon. But
I guess it could be either way.
I don't know, but that dude, Mr. Teacher Man, that's what I'm gonna call him. He like literally his history lesson is literally Breath of the Wild story. So, like,
yeah, and you have to bring him a picture of the tapestry.
Yeah,
from Kakariko
and also,
to initiate the storyline too. So
there's also like Sidon's ramblings. He like has a bunch of stone tablets that he wrote, and I mean, I love Sidon, but man, he's a sappy guy. But he talks a lot like about his sister and her dying and his childhood, and he talks about like literally like Link and him teaming up to fight Varuta in Breath of the Wild. Like he talks about that. So it's like, and there's of course a statue of it as well. So it's like this still definitely happened. So
I like your idea of like the gloom eating it up, or like the I heard another theory that like basically it was like a commenter that said like maybe because the stuff at the Great Plateau was affected, then it just like made everything else kind of like explode and like decompose, I guess. And I like that idea too. So like, you know, I'm not really like resolved on that whole front, but like I could see how like it could have
one of the things, you know. Yeah, one of the things that I kind of mentally struggled with a little bit was like, well, would they have enough time to dismantle everything between games? Like dismantle all the shrines and towers and stuff. And someone in one of my comments brought up a great point, and they were like, you know, this happens in Age of Calamity, so it's not necessarily canon to this story, or it's not necessarily in this timeline, but it could be still that a similar thing happens where Purah is able to figure out how to get this sort of warping and downloading functionality working, and was able to like literally warp all this technology and store it as data, the same way that like the Master Cycle is stored as data. And I was like, dude, this is a lit comment. So like the Master Cycle's like it's a physical item, but it like gets stored in the Sheikah Slate. So someone was like, yeah, what if Purah like she figured out, like she does in Age of Calamity, how to warp all this stuff. Like in Age of Calamity, she can warp the divine beasts. Like that's the
credit to that commenter. Armies. Like I don't, you'll find the comment for me hopefully, and I can throw it up on the screen. But like, that's so awesome, man. Like that's such a good idea. Like that's so
smart. I think I pinned it in that video actually. But yeah, so then like now like Purah just like literally downloaded all this stuff, and I was like, dude, that's so smart.
So good. I like that. I think I might have adopted that as my new headcanon just now. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, and then you don't have to go around and like
dismantling it could just be like
oh, you downloaded it, okay, and which part do I need? Okay, just take that part out and just, you know, like
that's incredible. Like that's so smart.
So smart. I was like, I had to pin that comment because I was like, that's the smartest comment that I've gotten on this video. But I got sidetracked. Your actual question regarding Tears of the Kingdom was like how the Dragon Break works.
Yeah.
I guess because if in my head, I still kind of place those past scenes as like pre-Minish Cap, so like between Skyward Sword and Minish Cap. And I know there's a lot of like talk about like how there's a lot of arguments about how that couldn't work. I think there's just as many arguments about how it could. So
yeah, no, that's why I'm so confused. I'm like, there's literally contradictory evidence for both. So
right.
That's
So
where I
it could
stand on
be-
it, is that like there's conflicting evidence for arguments
There
for
is.
both ways. Yeah.
There totally is. So kind of part of what I'm thinking as well is like, if Zelda's wish, like I believe she used the Triforce. We see the symbol on the back of her hand, when
And
she's
it's like the
repairing
energy's
Master Sword,
flowing out of her hand too. It's like flowing, like.
and she might not have been like conscious of like the fact that she was using the Triforce to do this. There could be like an element of subconsciousness that enacted it, but I figure like if her goal was, I have the broken Master Sword now, I got to get it back to the future where Link is.
Back to the future.
The long way.
Oh yeah.
But if she just lingers in this time, there's a chance like, and again, like she might not even be cognitive of this, but there's a chance she also doesn't even know which timeline she's going to end up in if there's these 3 timelines, and she doesn't know which one Link is in. So like all she knows is she's got to get back to that future, her future, where her Link is. And so
That does
just
bring up an
sewing
interesting
all those
point.
timelines back in together
Yeah.
will ensure that she gets there, no matter which branch of the timeline she ends up following inadvertently. So yeah, like, but that's a train of thought. Again, like I think.
I mean, the way
don't
I
think
see it is like
she's-
saving over a save file. You go back, like it's the same game that you're playing, right?
Mhm.
Like you go back through the game with all of the evidence, all of the thoughts, like
Right.
like it's like going back and playing a playthrough of Ocarina of Time. Now you played it 16,000 times, right? Like you know how to play the game. You might have a different pathing or like a different, but it's still
Totally.
the same game,
Totally. And it's, yeah. And if she did, like, this kind of is a bit of a clean, like, catch-all for theories, is that, like, if she did change history, then like, those timelines converging doesn't invalidate those old games from still having happened, Like, then now both can have happened, this new history and the original history that we played through in these classic games and stuff. So it's kind of a crowd pleaser explanation, I guess. Or I like to think
Yeah,
so.
no, I'm with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think so too, because I mean, it does make sense. It makes sense to me. The argument does make sense. But like, even though like I'm sure that there's evidence against it, I don't know. Have you gotten any like conflicting evidence since your newest Dragon Break and about Tears of the Kingdom, like about how it couldn't have been?
I mean, not really. That's the thing, is that because of the nature of what a timeline convergence is, it's hard to like say, like, dispute like that there's evidence against it, because like what would you say, even like oh, it doesn't, no, because this evidence is from this timeline. Well, guess what? It's a convergence, so it still works.
Like all the items are canon in the depths.
That's the thing.
And,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
they're like literally canon.
in Breath of the Wild, you could write off those amiibo items as like, they're not canon, they're amiibo items, and it's like, okay, sure.
But
Like Tears of the Kingdom said, okay, guess what? They're now a real object in the world. That's, yeah.
just
So it's,
say that like Hyrule Warriors is canon harder, dude. Like
I really like Hyrule Warriors, and a lot of people don't.
I do. I'm sure. Like I've watched the playthroughs. It's. I just don't own it. Like yeah, it looks like fun. It looks like a good explanation. Like even though everybody cringes at Matt Pat's Zelda theory, I don't think it's like his whole thing is like bad.
The whole the
just make Hyrule Warriors canon is like, yeah, that would kind of fix the timeline in a way.
The only point against Matt Pat's explanation of Hyrule Warriors being canon is that when you resolve the crisis in that game, like he cites how like literally like land masses like from other timelines came into this one, like stuff like that happened, right? But like when you solve the crisis of beat the baddies, whatever, like those actually go back to their timelines, and like the characters hop back to their original timelines. That's like the only real flaw.
Yeah.
But like, who's to say, I guess, like whether or not there were like reverbs of things, or you know what I mean? Like,
I'm expecting some kind of big convergence event, like kind of like not that this wasn't one, but like more solid explanation, and hopefully a DLC about hopefully like talking more about Zelda in the past, or like just understanding like more of the ancient history.
I would love that. I just don't want to get my hopes up, because Nintendo has
I
a
know.
track record.
I know.
of very much.
All of
not
our hearts
doing
are
that.
broken. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Like,
I just
yeah.
I had fun though. I will say this game is so much fun. So much fun.
Absolutely. And I will say, like, I got a lot of things wrong. Like predicting how this game was gonna go. I really thought the Master Sword, like repairing it, was gonna be like a big part of the story, and it is a big part of the story. It's just not a part of the story that you do
participate in. Yeah, it's true.
It kind of happens without you, and I think it was done in a compelling way. I think I kind of amped myself up for like this idea of like how that was gonna go, and it totally didn't go that way. So I just
Sacred Flame quest, something cool like that. I don't know.
Because like
imagine if there was Sacred Flames in the depths of like, and then we had to reforge the Master Sword.
Dude, that was like crazy. Literally what I thought would happen. I was like,
they're like, no, they're like, no fun allowed, man.
Yeah, no. So it is.
When did you originally make Dragon Break? Like, take me back.
So I guess like, yeah, we talked about this a little earlier, but yeah, like in 2016, that was again like the light bulb moment. It was pre Breath of the Wild's launch, and I was playing through Skyrim, and I was like, my brain just got percolating. And at the time, I was doing video content for ZeldaInformer.com, and
which is now Nintendo Prime.
Which is now
sorry, it's now Zelda Dungeon, but the channel was Nintendo Prime.
Yeah,
is now Nintendo Prime, but formerly all known as Zelda Informer. Just so those of you who don't know,
there is definitely weirdness with it in that way. But yeah, that's accurate. And at the time I was doing video content, I did several things. I did all of their like Breath of the Wild trailer analysis sort of videos at the time, and I just like I had like a light bulb moment while playing Skyrim of like, oh. Like I couldn't place Breath of the Wild in a clean spot in my head, but then it was that light bulb moment of like, oh well, maybe it's all of them. So I wrote this script, I wrote this script in a day, like a single day, which is monumental for me because I'm not a fast writer,
right?
And I think it was like 2 days total to like produce this video, and honestly, at the time I was very proud of it.
2 days to do like a 10-minute video? That's kind of crazy though.
It is, but also like when I look back on it, like the video is kind of bad.
No, it's not.
It's kind of really
to the standard of YouTube in 2016. That's
perhaps
that's not even.
But
that's not even
to the
bad.
standard of Captain Burgerson in 2023, it's pretty bad. Like,
oh my god, all of our videos are cringe from this time. What do you mean?
I mean, no, that is the thing. I guess like my voiceover is really like weirdly nasally sounding in the video, and I'm just like I'm clearly not as comfortable with it as I am now. I guess it is really, I hadn't quite come into my own, but this was yeah, I mean, I guess for the time, especially, and for a younger me coming up and doing this stuff, like it was an achievement, I think. And I think that, like, honestly, like rewatching it even more recently, like I think it still holds up, which is crazy because that, like, again, this was months before the game came out. Like, to do like a theory video of that scope, usually it's gonna age like milk, you know. Like a lot of my Tears of the Kingdom videos have recently aged like milk. So,
I think this is one of your strongest theories. Like seriously, like the fact that it's held up for this long is kind of crazy because like this is 2016 pre-launch, and like it's just kind of like that to me is kind of insane that you like came up with this big brain idea so far in the past, and like I do want to talk about like you're not in the description of this video, and I kind of like there's a feeling that's like wrong to me about this, is that like you voiced over, you made this entire video and there's no credit to you. This was an earlier time of YouTube, so I guess that's like something that you can write off, I guess. Perhaps, but it just kind of feels wrong that you weren't accredited properly for your theory in this video. And then this is where I was exposed to the theory, is the Game Over Jesse podcast. from 5 years ago. And in this, you like say that like you came up with it 2 years prior.
Yeah. Oh man, look at all of it. We all look like babies. I've put on weight since that podcast. But
who hasn't, man? COVID
the COVID-19. It's all right. The all 19 pounds right in the But yeah, no, it's for those who are like, what's going on? What are they talking about? Until basically the start of this year, for the last like, I want to say it was like over 5 years prior, I was a co-host of this podcast with Game Over Jesse. And yeah, I guess that was also a pretty. We talked a lot of Dragon Break on that podcast, I think. But this was like
look at the thumbnail for it. It's like yeah, of course you did.
Yeah. I just mean like even like in multiple episodes, I think we brought it up several times. But yeah, I mean, at least like as far as crediting goes in this podcast, like it's me there explaining it.
Yeah, and, with the ad, you know, like yeah, definitely.
So it's, you know, and with
I liked this podcast. I actually quite liked it. I overall.
Definitely. Oh,
I watched the whole thing a couple times.
So fun fact is that it's a little hard to tell, but I actually was in my closet.
I can tell.
You can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
she's outside of her house, like on the porch, chilling, mad, maxing, man.
Yeah.
Like
I was
with her like laptop plugged in. Like I bet she has a wire running all the way through her patio door. But what a vibe though! Like,
it was
seriously.
a vibe. Well, it was just
it's very wholesome. Like
you know,
yeah, man, yeah, just everybody chilling. Like that's the vibe I got from it. It was just like it's a bunch of Zelda nerds talking about Zelda.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, we had good times. And I like at the time the place I was living in was pretty small. Like now I'm lucky. I moved to this place I live in now in 2019. Thank God. It's like I have my own home office here that I can do all my video work from. We can sit down and record this here tonight, and I can shut the door, and I don't have to worry about like background noise. But that wasn't the case at the time. Then I lived in a shoddy basement suite, and so like if I needed quiet, like I would legit go and sit on the floor of the closet to record these things because, like, this was
quality,
5 years ago.
Right?
Yeah. So like my son then I guess would have been 5. So like, a 5-year-old, I'm not going to like lock him in the closet. I'll lock myself in the closet. So, it's parenting.
Confirmed. So. Captain Burgerson does not lock his kid in the closet.
I do not. No.
Do not.
Like, you'd rather honestly, he's a great kid, and he is just to gush a little. He really is. But like a lot of the time I can do things like I can do things and he'll just like play Pikmin, or he'll play Pokemon on his Switch, and
just like a good old kid.
Yeah,
not a big rascal.
He's a great kid. He's super well behaved, and he's my friend Chub, who's actually in this podcast that you have pulled up, always jokes that like I shouldn't compare him to other kids because he's way more of a pro gamer than other kids his age are. Which I was like, well, yeah, of course he's my kid.
I mean, yeah, he grew up with a shelf of like collector's edition video games at his disposal. Yeah. It's like you can only touch these if you're going to treat them with respect and be good. And it's like,
and he beat Tears of the Kingdom actually as well. He beat it.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's only been out.
Did he beat it before you or after you?
After me, but not long after me.
Gotcha.
I think it's because he knew that I had beaten it, and I didn't spoil it for him. I beat it without him in the room. Like he was asleep in bed, and it was late at night. I was just, and I got to the finale. I was like, I'm not going to bed now. But yeah, so I didn't spoil it for him. But like I think once he realized that I had beaten it, he kind of rushed to beat it because he wanted to talk with me about it, which is not an uncommon thing. We talk a lot of games. It's our shared interest. So, but yeah, like. Yeah, don't lock your kids in the closet, I guess, if you're is the takeaway here.
Is the moral of the story, right?
Yeah. But honestly, and like considering how hard that final boss or like the Ganondorf fight is in Tears of the Kingdom, like it's I'm like, yeah, that's pretty impressive that he got through that okay. Like that it took him a couple tries, but I'm pretty impressed with him, So maybe I have low standards.
No, I mean it's incredible that he made it through. I mean, for a 10-year-old to make it through this game.
Yeah, and he did not do all the shrines or anything. He did not have max hearts like I did. Dude, like he doesn't have time for that. He does not have the.
I have not done any of the shrines either. I'm still literally running 4 hearts. Like,
I know. I saw in your video like that you said you were still 4 hearts.
Still just on 4 hearts.
You are mad. You're nuts. I have like full.
I need a challenge. I just need a challenge. Like, like constantly getting one shot in the game is like fun and challenging for me. Because it makes you get good, right? Like,
oh, totally. Totally.
So it makes the whole game just like kind of more challenging and just a little bit more frustrating, which is, I like the challenge. It makes it like, because whenever you get hit, like basically beat on, and then like there's no like.
There's a satisfaction through the suffering. That's what I always say. Satisfaction through suffering. A great example is like I streamed Metroid Dread games. Great game. And its hardest difficulty setting is called Dread mode. And it's like any enemy one-shots you. It's gonna be the slightest graze, one shot. Like that's Dread mode. Doesn't matter how many health upgrades you got. It's like hard coded that any enemy one-shots you. And it's hard, but I did it 100%, and it was hard, but you know what, I felt so good about that. Like I felt legit accomplishment. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
like, the masochism
is
real.
It's like you get like, it's just like I'm honestly kind of worried about the last boss fight. Like I really am, because like I'm just like because I'm trying to test out a bunch of like potions and stuff right now, and I'm like, wait, the freaking like gloom stuff doesn't stack with the gloom armor. Oh my god, like that was what I was gonna rely on, and then it's like, what do I do for the part where he can take your hearts? Like I really don't
dodge. I guess that's all you got.
Dive, duck, dip, and dodge, baby.
Exactly.
So, I'm gonna watch a bunch of like speedrunners do it just to like get the mechanics of it down, and then just throw myself into it 70 plus times. Look, I beat Elden Ring, so like I don't think I can't not do it, but
full confession, I still haven't played Elden Ring, so
it's so good. You're missing out, man.
I know it's good. That's the thing. I just I've had too many games to play, basically. That's what's come down to.
Yeah, that's fair. Because you played like Pikmin.
Dude, Pikmin's
recently when it came out.
Good. I legit just played all 4 games. So
someone asked me to do Pikmin lore in my comments. I don't remember who it was, but like they were like, "Hey, can you do Pikmin lore?" I'm like, absolutely not. That's never going to happen.
There's not that much lore to talk about in Pikmin, honestly. No. It's a great game though, but it's very Miyamoto.
Apparently there's a rabbit hole, there's a conspiracy, and there's more environmental connection. I'm like, I am not going that deep, man.
Yeah. Like, all right. I mean, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
I love Pikmin. I'm a very big Pikmin fan, but I'm not going to say it's as deep as like Zelda or Dark Souls or something like that,
No way.
So, yeah. No. Mm-mm.
No way.
Just some things are. I think part of why Zelda and like Dark Souls though, like I think those series, their lore is rich because there's a lot of ambiguity though, and there's not a lot of ambiguity with Pikmin. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, definitely. That is true. Like I do
it's a mysterious
like
planet. It's like, no, it's Earth. That's not ambiguous.
It's literally Earth. Yeah. No, and then like I also really like that. Like with the Souls and Zelda is just like how like everyone's very mad because everything was so mysterious, and I don't get it. That's what they did last game. Like what did you want them to spell out everything that happened?
That's exactly what people wanted.
They're never going to do that. Like why did like the most spelled out game is Skyward Sword that you're gonna get. Like sorry. Like they're not telling you anything.
I agree. And actually I was again I'm gonna reference a different podcast that I was a guest on, but Nehru, who's a fellow Zelda creator, basically said that same thing.
Good
like
videos, good stuff.
He was like, no, it's a good thing that it's like the lore is messy and vague and inconsistent and stuff, because it's more fun that way for us. Like as creators.
Yeah, no, the worst thing they could have done is put out a timeline, like a coherent timeline. Honestly, that's honestly what I think. Like, because like, why establish a timeline? Like, seriously, like, what does it do? Like, it just gives it's like, I guess so, man. But like, at the same time, it's kind of like, why don't you just not do that? Because then, like, just sell the book without those you're gonna sell 1 billion copies anyway. But like, you know, sell it without the timeline, because I feel like the timeline, like answering that, kind of like shot themselves in the foot, unless they're trying to. That's why I said like maybe they're trying to mess with that conventions that they previously established, because like obviously it's working, because everyone, like, I've heard 37 takes of like how the timeline, how people think the timeline. I heard one yesterday that was like it places it after Minish Cap or something, and then you know what I mean, like everyone's at odds again over the timeline, because it's now that. Vague again. Yeah, me too. I missed them.
That is the thing, is like it is sort of invigorating in a way, because it does bring me back to those times where I was like watching, you know, I had that wall of Post-it notes and I'm watching all these like splittist versus linearist theory videos, and then like there was like, I cannot even remember for the life of me the names of these people, but there were 2 YouTube channels, and they were like there was like 10 videos where they would make a video explaining their thoughts on the timeline, and then the other one would make like a response video with their like counter theory. Oh my god, I
remember these.
Yeah, and then it just like went back and forth, these 2. And the thing is too, is they were like super civil. They're always like, oh, your editing's so good, you know, but I don't agree on this point, and here's what, like, so they were very civil. There wasn't like mudslinging, but it was like these 2 like going back and forth, and I was like, it kind of brings me back to that, like that era where, like, God, the production quality was awful in hindsight. But like,
I need to find those eventually. Like, it's gonna take forever to try and hunt it down. But yeah, I do remember what you're talking, because I've watched the whole era of YouTube, like Zelda videos.
It was
like ever since people started making them. Yeah, man.
Different time for YouTube, for Zelda YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, like, because I was honestly too scared to ever make my own videos. I mean, I still am to this day. I'm like terrified to put out an opinion about anything, but you know, I still do it. But you know, like watching like it was like Dr. Wily, Monster Maze, Nintendo Black Crisis all coming out like around the same time. You know, and then obviously like there's tons of other Zelda tubers that started popping up, especially before Breath of the Wild. Like Game Over Jesse was one of the people that I watched pretty religiously, because he was like the only person prior to like that whole era of like new Zelda tubers that put out any content about Zelda. So like I remember seeing you on the podcast and like participating, because like that podcast wasn't even the one I like remembered. Like there was one where you were actually had the background of your like with all your collector's stuff,
all my so nerdy shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like you have like a crazy collection, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Just have to say,
it is slowed down in growth just because there's, I guess, less amiibo coming out constantly. But you know, I it's made a nice backdrop. At least that's my excuse.
I mean, honestly, it's like it's for the backdrop, sweetie. Yeah. Look, it's just $500.
It's okay.
It's fine.
No, honestly, so like people joke about it a lot, but I always say like, if it's actually in some ways just as much my wife's fault, because I'm a little stingy at times with money, honestly. And then I'll be like, oh, I want this thing, but I don't know, it's expensive.
Poor
and she's
people
always
be
like, oh,
man.
You want it? Okay, I just bought it for you. And I'm like, no, I would like in the time where I'm like humming and hawing over it and like battling myself of like, okay, I want this, but do I want it enough to spend this much money? In the time I'm having that mental struggle, she just bought it for me. So
it's just like, yeah, no, you're getting this. Yeah. It's fine.
She's like, it's fine. You're stressing yourself out over $15. Like, it's fine. You know, so I think.
Yeah, I mean, I understand too, because like I came from a background, like my parents went bankrupt. So like money was like a huge contention point in the house, like throughout my whole childhood. And so like, I definitely know where you're coming from on like being frugal. Cause like, I'm always like, Charlie, we can't be extravagant. He's like, we're flying first class. I'm like, no, we're not. Right. You know, like I don't want to do that. Cause I just don't like.
Yes, no, it's exactly.
You know what I mean?
I
like,
do, yeah.
Like you just don't want to like, because it's like, money. What if I need money in the future? Like, what if like something like an asteroid comes down and smashes our car? Then what are we gonna do?
No. Totally. No, it's exactly the same. Like my whole upbringing was like all about saving money. Like rubber spatula into the peanut butter jar so you don't waste any peanut butter, and like just like I like, again, just transparency. Like I grew up like in like subsidized housing for very poor people, and sucks, like it was it just is what it is, right? But you grew up like humbled, right? Like by the but also by not having a lot, it's like I don't have a lot, so I'm gonna like take care of what I have, kind of thing, Exactly. But at the same time, it made me hesitant to ever spend money on myself, because I was like, and that was like, again, like Skyward Sword, like my brother, you have a kid, right?
Like, so
I'll spend money on him, no hesitation. But for myself, I like still can't,
I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that.
I mean, probably not. So then I don't spend money on myself, and then my wife's like, okay, I got to buy you 3 new shirts because you're willing to just, so.
What a sweetheart. She's like, you
come
need here.
We're
going to take care of you. We need to take care of you. You have holes in your socks, darling. Come here.
Yeah.
Let's get you a new pair, amazing. Like some new set of socks.
She's
like, no, these ones are fine. What do you mean? They're like 6 years old. They still got life in them.
Yeah.
It's like, what life? Like literally there's like 2 holes in them. It's fine,
Literally, yeah. No, actually. So she's great. She's the most
like,
supportive person.
Actually.
Yeah. And like
me
I'll
sitting
say,
here with like 6-year-old socks, like I totally get it. Like yeah.
Like I wouldn't be doing any of this if not for her too, because like always the thing too is like going into doing YouTube and being like a creator and stuff, like that's an emotional battle with myself, and she was like, just try it.
What was your emotional battle like with starting to make content?
With making content, that was never really an issue, because like I've been literally on YouTube making YouTube videos since like 2007 on various channels that I've worked on.
That's crazy.
And honestly, it's all really bad. Like
it's not though. Like circa that age, there was not a lot of competition. I mean, by today's standards, where everything's about quality.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, like, but back then it was just about quantity and just getting it out there, And
it was like, having fun, like, and just like making stupid videos for fun and stuff. So, there's a lot of lessons learned though, for sure. Like the channel I ran before I started the Captain Burgerson channel was like a joint venture with myself and 4 other people. Sorry. And one of the lessons I learned was, don't do that. Don't, because then like legit, there was like 5 of us, like we're supposed to be collaborating on this channel. And I was like, if each of us makes 1 video a month, we can have a weekly upload schedule. And everyone else was like, that's too much work. And I was the only one really like contributing to this thing, or that's how it felt. So yeah, like the real struggle.
Was that for Zelda Informer, or like
before that, actually, I guess.
Before that. Okay.
So
so this was like a group of you guys on Discord or something?
No, people like IRL people. Yeah.
Oh,
like we do sketches and stuff like that. Like,
Oh, okay. I see. So you're like, you try to get a couple friends together. They're like, no, because like you don't want to like enter into it by yourself, and it's easier if you have like some kind of external motivator.
Well, exactly. And like
a homie being like, hey man, we got to get that next upload, and it just kind of like motivates you to like, get to the next one.
But it was like, they all want to be attached to this, but they're not putting in the work. So it got to a point where one of them had another channel already anyways. So then I just was like, all right, I'm making my own channel, because the stuff I want to make doesn't fit with what we were doing here anyways. And I don't want to rely on anyone else. I want to be self-sufficient. But it was like totally just a side thing until pandemic, when I kind of came to a realization that I was like, this is what I want to do, man. Like I want to do this for real. And that was the mental struggle of like, okay, well, like my day job, which I hate, and it has me emotionally in shambles constantly. Like, what do I do about this? I think I want to leave it and try this YouTube thing. And it was like a gamble. And then of course there was that stingy money side of me that grew up poor being like, you can't fucking quit your day job to do YouTube.
Yeah, it's impossible.
That's
you
nuts.
Can't do that. It's not allowed.
But then it actually like worked out.
I mean, same though. Even now, like I just made this decision to jump in January, and I just like
that's
the
so
whole
recent,
time
dude.
I'm just like,
But you're
dude, yeah,
killing
no,
it.
I've been terrified the whole time. I'm like, what if I can't make a mortgage payment? You know, and like that's some real stuff. You know, like if I can't make it, like, you know, if I can't make it work, I can't make it work. I'll go get a real job and I'll still do this on the side. But like, you know, like it's like that, like, yeah, it's real. Like, you know, wanting to actually do this for a living. It's like, it's a great way to, you know, live. But like, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to consistently come up with quality content, to be honest.
There's that.
Like, yeah,
man. I read this one YouTube comment once where they were basically saying like, oh, these YouTubers are just greedy and they just do all this stuff. Like they take these sponsorships because they just want your money and they don't care about you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, you do not know how much money YouTube pays, do you? Like,
it's not as much.
It's not much.
It's really not.
It really, yeah, man. So it's like, yeah, it was like a bit of
it
a
is
jump.
if you're making 100,000 views a video,
Sure.
like every upload. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mr.
You
Beast
can make
is
a fine
doing just
living.
fine, but like, yeah, for
if you
literally
get
everyone
a
else,
million
like,
views.
bro, no, yeah. There's a threshold where it is like very lucrative, but you know, for everyone else, it is like bare minimum, basically. So, yeah, it is one of those things where it's like, yes, there is a lot of money to be made in theory, but also, I don't think anyone makes the jump to YouTube to do YouTube because they want to make money. Like you just got to do it because you love doing it, you know?
You have to have something to say, like something that you want to say, you know? Because like the reason why I started making theories is because I had like Zelda theories that I've been just like, no one's talking about this. Right. God, I'll just do it myself. Like that's like the mentality I had whenever I came into this, like that. And like I felt like YouTube was a big objective echo chamber. Like no one was stepping out and speculating anymore for like a year there or so. Like right before Tears of the Kingdom came out. It was like a year and a half where just no one was making theories. They were just like making lore videos. And we're really scared to make very objective. They'd be like, this is crazy theory, guys. It's crazy speculation. But what if I made this completely objective, you know, like analysis? And it's like, yes, that is the obvious conclusion based on your analysis. That is a fair conclusion based on analysis. So I feel like that's like, yes, it's a theory, but like, I feel like it never, like a lot of stuff wasn't stepping into that more speculative space, like
for sure. And similarly,
asking
like
questions.
When I started really trying to take this like YouTube seriously, and that's when I started my series, my dungeon design series, which is
I love your dungeon design series, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so good, dude.
But it's the same thing of like, I kind of had to hit a point where I was like, this is the kind of video I want to watch, and nobody is making this kind of video, so I'll make it. Basically, like no one's because like dungeons they just fascinate me, right? So, but it's like nobody's talking about this stuff in this way that I think is really appealing. So if I think it's really appealing, there's an audience for it. Like, there's got to be. There's going to definitely
there
be
is. I mean, I am the audience. It's me.
There
Hello.
You go. So.
I really love the dungeon design. Like I watched your Ice Cavern one that came out the other day, and I was like, wait, it's in the center of Lake Hylia? Oh my god! Like, I don't know. It's like anytime I hear like Hylia or you know, just anything revolving around her name, like my ears perk up because I just like Hylia Bargainer. Like I don't know. So like. I've just been like harping on this
weird little trivia. Speaking of the name Hylia, that it made me really think that like lore wise that they were wanting to introduce Hylia like sooner than they did, because do you remember in like 2020 the Giga leak happened? Did I tell you about this already? I don't know. The viewers might not know this, but the Giga leak happened a few years ago where like a bunch of like Nintendo files happened, and like people basically got like a full like early build of Ocarina of Time, like with an earlier script and stuff like that, and like early assets, and like the Hyrule field that was like completely different from the final game.
And then the Triforce was actually in the game apparently.
And then
like
until it
way
wasn't.
early, until it wasn't.
And
but the room was built, which is kind of crazy, like that the asset exists. I think.
And like all this stuff, like we never thought we'd learn about the beta of this game, like came and it was in our hands. But one of the neatest things is that one of the early names that was in the script for like the Temple of Time was the Cathedral of Hylia. And I'm like, yeah, that's very specific phrasing. Like Cathedral has like
Cathedral of Hylia?
That was one of the early names for Temple of Time. Before it was called the Temple of Time, it was the Cathedral of Hylia.
Which is funny because it's called the Temple of Hylia in Skyward Sword.
It is. But cathedral and a temple are like kind of pretty similar, right? So, I mean, I don't know. It makes me think like they had lore ideas that they just like ended up saving for later, I guess.
Well, no, they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough space on the cartridge. That was the problem. Is because like they had to cut so much content because of the limited space. Like if you remember correctly, like the Majora's Mask came out. I'm sure you do. But like the Majora's Mask came out on the expansion pack, right? Because like even then they were having trouble fitting everything that they wanted in the game, like sound, like all the dialogue, text, characters, textures, assets. Like it just took up so much space, and they were trying to make these compact games. So like they had to cut so much content from all the games because that's all they could fit. Yeah, I found that out like not too long ago, and I was like, oh, so that's why I like Ocarina of Time feels kind of like they could have done more.
Well, they wanted to, and like even
they absolutely wanted to.
Even like some of the early trailers, like I'm like Link's walking animations are like way smoother and like definitely higher frame rate than the final game. So like they even had to like slice some of that and drop the frames to like make this game work on that N64 cartridge, which is like crazy how the Zelda team is always like basically breaking Nintendo's hardware or like pushing it to its limits basically, right?
I can't believe they released this on the Switch again. I was like, what?
Yeah, like really.
And then I got the OLED thinking like maybe like it's more than just the screen. Maybe there's like, no, dude, it chugs in the sky too.
There are times
the screen is really nice. It's really nice sky. Like it's really nice view of everything, but like it just be chugging sometimes, like the frames, like because it's like raining, and then you can like if you look out at a landscape, it's just like let me drop frames really hard.
And it's
like
just walk around with like Ultra Hand active, and it's just like it's not gonna. Yeah,
I haven't upgraded the game from 1.2, but like, is there have they fixed the water frame drop problem? Like,
I'm not
around
sure.
like because it drops for if you go to like the Hylia River,
right?
It's like it drops frames like super crazy.
I haven't noticed it, and my Switch just auto updated. So I'm on the latest version. So, so maybe they did like do some kind of patch, but I couldn't say definitively. I don't know.
I haven't patched it because like whenever I accidentally deleted my game, I was just like, oh, I'm doing whatever I needed to do to get back to where I was. So.
Oh, you're getting those duplications.
Just hitting them with the,
no judgment here.
You just gotta do what you gotta do to make it work. It might have duplicated a diamond or two. No foul harm. Hey, it's in the game. It's canon apparently that you can duplicate it.
There you go. It's canon.
So
the legend of duplication. Actually, all your duplications are just legends anyway.
They're all just legends, Like, please, Nintendo, don't delete this playthrough. I'll cry. I will cry. No, because I was pretty upset, and so I just kind of grinded back to where I was by just duping and trying to I did so many amiibo scans just to get the drops of like the armors that was missing. So I caught back up I think it took me 2 weeks to catch completely up.
That's not bad.
No, it's not. I mean, I don't have a job. This is my job. So, but it was good because I was able to go back and get all the footage in Japanese. That was like the main reason why I was doing it, was to get the beginning scene in Japanese.
Yeah.
So
There
yeah,
you go.
because like I don't know, like I'm not upset about it because like the first error I found in translation, that was kind of like it for me.
Right.
I was like, yeah, it was the Yiga notebook. It talks about like how the statues were colossal.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you made a community post about that too, I think.
It was very, very upsetting.
It's
very
kind of
upsetting
wild.
stuff.
Like it's like such a difference in meaning, like between those two versions.
Well, it's just
between the
wrong.
movies.
Like it's just a mistranslation. You know,
it's like
just
basically
like
the
they
opposite.
overlooked it.
Or you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's just kind of like, well, I'm okay with this, but you know, maybe don't. I don't know. It's good because like my thing is like, I just want to understand what's going on, and whenever there's like, it makes it hard to trust like the rest of the game, you know. So
For sure.
it's like I will literally Google Lens pretty much every NPC I talk to, and then if anything's too complicated for Google Lens, I send it to Laurelian and I'm like, what is this?
Right.
What does this mean? And he's like, context? And I'm like, oh yeah. So yeah, like it is kind of like a long process of playing through, but at the same time, like I know I'm getting the correct information at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Back on track. Anyway,
yeah, we got off topic. That's okay. That's the best part.
Question.
Is getting off topic.
So you repost your theory onto your channel, right? Like 4 years ago?
Yeah. So
the first one from.
Yeah, that was like the original video from 2016, and when I made my channel, when I made my current channel, my Captain Burgerson channel, I was like, the first thing I did, I was like, well, if I'm gonna have a channel, there needs to be things to watch. So
right.
I just decided to repost a few old projects that I had done from various like other channels that I had worked on, including Zelda Informer, hence the Dragon Break theory video going up there. There were some that I was like, I'm not going to repost this because it's like an old trailer analysis video and this game is now out, so there's no point. But like a theory video, even though it was made pre-launch with limited info, it held up well enough that I was like, yeah, I'm proud of this project, so I'll repost this one. And it's again bad, and the thumbnail's bad. I should change it. The thumbnail kills me. I can't even.
What do you mean? The thumbnail's fine. It is very 2016. I'll give you that. It's very like early YouTube, like that like medium YouTube. I mess with it. It conveys what you need to know. I know.
I guess.
I appreciate that. Yeah. No, I mean, because like you get all the information from it, so that's the most important thing to me. Like, could it be visually better? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know, but like I think it's fine.
Yeah. I think I've come a long way.
I think you're tearing apart your old work. Yeah, of course you have.
I've come a long way in terms of thumbnails, especially, and like I've redone old thumbnails before. Like my first run of dungeon videos, like the first probably year's worth, I like redid all of those thumbnails like twice, I think. So like I redid them and then I like redid them more recently. So yeah,
I understand. I've redone all my thumbnails several times.
There you go. You know how it is.
Yeah, I know exactly how. Why wouldn't I use the tools available to me?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny whenever I do it, my wife's like, "Why are you wasting your time with that?" And I'm like, "No, I gotta. It's important. Thumbnails are so important."
Then redo it.
Yeah, I should redo this.
Yeah,
one.
you should
this, but
and I would love if you did like a community post, like, "Hey, by the way, my old theory that was posted way back," and
maybe
I think that's cool. I think that's really cool because it's very old. There, it's 7 years old. That's insane.
Yeah.
Like actually.
So I reposted this shortly after making the channel. It was probably my like third upload ever, I want to say. I can verify that actually, even if I go to videos and I scroll down, and you're also doing that even. So
yes, sir.
So since you're scrolling backwards, you see we can watch the thumbnails get worse as they
Oh my gosh, get out of here, man. Look. The early days of YouTube were quantity over quality.
So 4th upload ever on this channel. So those 4 uploads were old projects from other channels. Same with the one that's the Breath of the Wild trailers. In retrospect, that one I gotta redo that thumbnail too, because look at the font. You can't even read it on the background. It's
yeah, like what does it say?
Can't even read it. Daniel,
what does it say? Trailers
exactly.
Like, yeah, no, it's okay. It just be like that, man.
And then I had a bunch of these videos where like the thumbnails were like just like it's like a generic background with like text. Like, oh my god, Daniel.
But that was like early YouTube. Like, you can't be too hard on yourself, because like, I mean, seriously, like everybody, if you go back to anybody who was posting during this time, like 4 years ago, this is how it was. Like, it's everyone's gotten more high quality because now it's all about quality over quantity. Yeah. Because before there was just no videos that even existed on YouTube.
Oh, but see, then here's just some of the redone thumbnails, and they look way better, right? So redone.
They look amazing. Yeah. I love them.
Yeah. But
dungeon design, I'm here for it.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I wanted to re-upload. A bunch of those are from my Zelda Informer days, old vlogs and stuff. But that one was like an important one to me, and I don't own an idea per se, but kind of I do. I do feel like a little bit of
having
ownership.
A reaction of Skyward Sword. Oh my gosh,
dude! Yeah, awesome. That was when they announced the Switch version. Yeah, that red text, like that was a mistake.
I mean,
that was
2
a mistake.
years ago.
That was a mistake.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're also posting something that's like a reaction from something that was. Oh wait, no, yeah, because they did announce it like 2 years ago. Mm. I'm thinking of like the original announcement. I don't know why. Yeah, no, your dungeon design is freaking amazing. I really like the series. And then like every once in a while you step out and you do these really nice theories.
Every once in a while.
Like I remember seeing. I'm glad that you started doing your own videos, because like I know you worked with Game Over Jesse for a while. And I will say it was incredibly hard. I did a theory on my channel forever ago. And it was my very first video, and I talk about your Dragon Break theory, but I swear I looked for it like forever. I tried to find it. I did everything I could to find it, and I couldn't. Because like I would like looking up Dragon Break or Dragon Run, like looking for your video, and it was really impossible to find. Mm-hmm. And then we were in the VC, or like something. We ended up in the same VC together, and I saw the background, and I saw you, and I was like, "Oh, you're the guy who made Dragon Break." You're like, "I am the guy who did that." Yeah. Thank you. Dude, you knew. And
your thumbnails are so good, actually. I know you keep changing them, but I'm like the text, it just pops. It's like those are some popping thumbnails.
They didn't always used to pop really hard, but it just they're not performing well. Like once it hits a flat 0, it's kind of like, you know, I can do something to like, you know, make them
for sure.
You know, I'm just testing the algorithm at this point to see what works, because like I want all my content to perform well over time, as opposed to, because like I worked really hard on my past videos, and the scripts still hold up. They're still good. So
and for me it was again a similar thing where I worked on the Game Over Jesse channel and Zelda Informer like before I ever made my channel, my current one, and
that's why it was so hard to track you down, because I didn't know that you were like. Yeah,
I'm enigmatic, man. But that was part of it. Was like, one is I wanted to be easier to find. I wanted it to be easier to find my own content, and also, like covering news is great, and a lot of people find a lot of success doing that, and certainly Jesse has, for example. But like, I wanted to make content that was what I call evergreen content, as opposed to like news cycle content, where it's like I want to make videos that like. You could watch a year later and it's still good to watch. It's not
or
going
6
to be
years
like,
later.
Yeah. And it's not going to be like antiquated because like, oh, well, you know, this news happened or didn't happen, or this rumor didn't come true or whatever. Like I didn't want to keep milling away with news stuff, I guess. So it's like, yeah, I'm just make my own videos that are going to be like these evergreen pieces that
like analyzing the series, or like analyzing a specific game or a specific dungeon, because like it's not going to change. Like that's why I like your dungeon design series, is because like it's not going to change at all.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like we're not going to get new info about the Forest Temple, and anytime soon, because I don't think ever, because it's like it's happened, it's done, it's good. So I can talk about that, and like I'll make, honestly, like full disclosure, there's some videos that I'll make that I'm like, these are kind of just like filler content, like how to find the Hylian shield. That was kind of like, I don't want to say a cash grab video, but it was kind of like this is an easy thing, and I'm gonna get like content up there. That was my I gotta post something, so it was a 2-minute video. There you go. But yeah, I mean, like there's some things that like that's not really going to expire anyways. People are going to be looking up walkthroughs forever, so but
yeah, I know, I missed the walkthrough train, man. Like that must be a really good moneymaker
for some people.
No commentary walkthroughs, like yeah Beard Bear, oh my god, I love his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just like, it's so great. And he makes it so condensed and like easy, like because it's like he just opens up his map and he just like closes down his map, he walks over and does the thing, and it's like he opens up the quest log, I'll let you read it, and then he cuts to the next place that you're supposed to be at, opens up his map. So it's like I love people who make content like that as well, because it's necessary. Like,
totally.
Because I'm doing stuff in Japanese, for instance, right now, so I can't read.
Fair enough.
Like, so like every time I run into one where I'm like, I don't know what is going on. Like I literally, even if I put it in Google Lens, I have no idea. So I'll like look up the the quest walkthrough, and I'll look at his videos, because at least there's someone out there making that. Yeah. So it's helpful to have that kind of content as well.
For sure.
No, but like that's why I think that like your evergreen content is really also good, is because like I haven't seen anyone who's done consistent analysis of the dungeons, and that is a good idea. Yeah,
like, and like I think a lot of people, especially lately, have like really come to like not take them for granted anymore. Like people miss dungeons, so and a lot of people are not talking about it, and I think
I can't wait for your dungeon design series
videos about dungeons, but like that was more recently. That was after I'd started my thing here, and it was like really just the lore. Like I really wanted to talk about like how does this dungeon teach you how it works without telling you outright, and how does that all play into like a cohesive design, and like I don't know, that stuff interests me. So
I agree. No, I mean like that stuff also interests me as well, because like the whole like psychology of the dungeon is kind of what I feel like you go for with it. Like you just kind of like analyze like how the dungeons, like how it plays through. Is it fun? Like that's why I can't wait for your Tears of the Kingdom breakdowns. Yeah, because it's like I bet it's gonna be like so good, because I don't know, you're just going over like I felt like the dungeons were the most fun part of the game. Every time somebody complains about the game, I'm like, you need to just start a fresh playthrough and go back and play the dungeons. Yeah, because like that really changed my perspective, is going back through the game and replaying the dungeons again. Like I messed up Minoru's whole quest. Like I don't know about you.
Oh, I think I did it pretty much exactly how they wanted you to, but I didn't realize that was like what I was going into. You know what I mean? It just kind of happened that way, kind of organically. But it was awesome. It was great. Except the water temple, I really did not like. I love Sidon, but man, the dungeon. As far as like a dungeon goes, it was like, man, you got a flat platform, and you got some puddles, and you gotta turn on 4 faucets, and the boss was
kind of the one I liked. I liked the best was that, because I felt like it was just so like puzzle central. Like I really like enjoyed that kind of just being presented with 4 different. Man, the little spinny thing like confused me, and then I realized it could bullet time anywhere, and that was a pretty cool lesson. It was like, oh yeah, I can just bullet time. I don't even need to climb on top of something. It's like just bullet time and like hit it. Duh. Because like I'm just like standing there staring at it like, my god, it's just spinning. Like how do I hit the thing? I don't get it.
I'd say that is like a standout moment in like a dungeon that otherwise doesn't do much for me, I guess. But But I mean,
were you stumped by that? I was kind of stumped. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, a little. I not for too long, like not long enough for me to be like pacing for it, but like it definitely made me stop and like actually have to think about it. And honestly, in a lot of games, I don't have to do that, so it that's a good feeling. Man, you know what game you would like based on just our conversation is freaking Tunic. Man, have you played Tunic?
No, but I
Dude.
hear it's so good.
Oh,
I hear it's so good.
It's so good. That's a game worth playing. That's a game that's gonna puzzle you. Yeah, man, it's great.
There's just one though, right?
Yeah, just the one. But it is in many ways it's very Zelda. In many ways it's very like not though. It's very like Souls like in some aspects, which is funny because it's like it's a cute little fox game, and then it kicks your ass.
Yeah, yeah. So. I've watched like some like. I'd be internet sleuthing. I like watching just content in general about video games. And that was one of the ones that I came across consistently, is like everybody like hyping up Tunic because it came out like what, 2 years ago?
No, just last year. Yeah, just like
really?
A year
just
ago.
Last year? I guess they announced it like 2 years ago, so I just assumed it came out right after.
Yeah, no, it was last year. And the physical print, like I literally got it in the mail yesterday. The physical copy, like for Switch, like just came out. So it came out digitally like a year ago, and then now the physical print came out, and I was like on that right away. So
of course, okay, hell yeah. All right. Yeah, I didn't know that because I haven't followed it too closely, but I do get recommended the game quite a bit.
But I would say like don't look into it before you play it. Like you want to like learn things organically. That's the best way to play. I
don't know anything about it other than it's kind of cute and it has like a Zelda-esque vibe to it.
You just got to go in like as blind as possible. That's the best way to play that.
I'm pretty blind, I would say.
Yeah, but.
Let me see what other questions I got.
I'm sorry. I keep derailing
this. No, me too. I do the same exact thing. My gosh, where were we? I guess I did get kind of through all the questions, but I mean, the last question I did have for you was just like a little bit more on like touching on the emotional side of it, but like, how does it feel now that like, I feel like a lot of people have taken credit for this theory in particular of you, like, you know, like just your theory was posted by formerly Zelda Informer, and you weren't given credit, and then Game Over Jesse did his own version of the video, which you were part of his team, but you know, your credit is just a very small blip just leading to your Twitter, and not really detailing like what kind of role you played in the development of that video. And I just feel like you haven't given your proper like dues for coming up with this idea, because it was yours. In fact, you told me about a recent comment that you received, and about like leading back to what is it? Thinking at Max Volume's video about the timeline, and like someone had mistakenly thought that he was the originator of Dragon Break. So like. Yeah. You know, like how does that feel like over the years, just kind of like being ignored in a way?
Well, there's mixed feelings, because on the one hand, like the fact that so many people are like talking about this idea or this theory is kind of vindicating in a way. It's like, wow, I'm not crazy. Like, you know, I'm not crazy. This is something a lot of smart people think, you know? So like in some ways that's validating in a way. You know what I mean? Like it's like yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah, so people can come to the same conclusions as me.
Yeah. So I mean that rocks for sure. On the flip side, you know, like I at the time, like when I was at Zelda Informer, I didn't concern myself too much with it because I was younger and more naive, and also like didn't anticipate things to go the way they did, like as far as like my association with that website goes, in that I no longer am part of it. We'll leave it at that. But I like you know, when you look back on like that original upload, there's nothing to like link me to it aside from my voice. And like you told me like you'd seen this video and you know who I am, but like you it wasn't until like we talked that you like connected the dots or like were able to link that.
I was
back
like, it was
to me.
you.
Yeah.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Even in a different Discord conversation, I remember our pal, the bread pirate, had a similar moment where we were talking about it, and I mentioned that I had made that video, and he was like, "That was you," you know, and like, yeah, well, yeah, like, oh, I'm glad you liked the video, but like, it also is like, I feel like there's a disconnect between like any video I post on my channel that's like firmly mine, you know, like there's an ownership in a way. And it's like I'm now disconnected from this idea in a way, or this video that I did. And I re-uploaded it, sure. But like, how many views does that re-upload have? Like 300 at most? It's probably even less.
And the original upload is like 89K.
Exactly. And like a lot of people are probably not even going to watch the re-upload if they've seen the original. And then, I don't know. So yeah, like in a way, there's a bit of a feeling of like I've been distanced from my own work.
I feel like that too, and I feel like there's if any of these YouTubers, like it's funny because Zeldum, I was talking on to him on his stream earlier, or like I was just in his stream, and he had said,
if I hear if I see another Dragon Break theory, I'm gonna be very, very upset. So I can't stand the Dragon Break theory. It doesn't make any logical sense.
I mean, that's a harsh reaction.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, So it's just kind of like, but I know the guy, man. Like, I know who did that originally. It's just kind of like frustrating because I have seen the evolution of this happen. Like, because I had watched the original theory, like, or like at least the one from 5 years ago, that podcast. And then, you know, coming on later on, it's like, you know, I couldn't even track you down. It was so hard to find you. And then you know, once we finally connected in the BC, it was like, it just kind of like hurt my feelings for you in a way that you hadn't received the proper credit from like anyone. In fact, like you're getting attacked in your comments about like copying someone who made a recent theory. And it's like,
yeah, I mean, that was weird because, and I wouldn't say like that the person was attacking me per se, but I think
maybe I'm using too harsh of language, but you know, like they're like, hey, you needed to have mentioned thinking at max volume, even though his theory is like what, a couple weeks old.
Yeah,
and like this is 7 years, like, right, like
yeah. And I mean, like I set the record straight. I was like, hey, well, like
and our intention is not to attack anybody or like come after anybody personally, or for you and the audience to like go and like mob anyone. We just like want to set the record straight. Like I want to set the record straight because like I feel like sometimes taking credit for our own work is too hard. And like whenever one of the homies comes through, he's like, nah, man. Like this guy right here, he was the one to come up with it. Like, I'll hype you up because you were like 7 years old. That's a very old theory, and you deserve the proper credit, I think.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah. And when we talked about it on the podcast again, like I didn't worry too much about it being attributed to me, because at least there, like, it's me, I'm talking, I'm on it. So I feel like that's fine. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, like, we've talked, like you and I have talked, like, aside from this video, about like crediting ideas or other people, like if you're building off of a theory, and sometimes you see that and sometimes you don't in the community, in that, like, the Zelda creator space. And it's something that like can kind of sting when and I'm not saying like, oh, thinking of Max Volume ripped me off. I legitimately think that he came up with that theory on his own without my influence whatsoever, and that's great. And he actually made a very good video. In fact, yeah, I'd say his video was better than mine. But get out of here. But in that the thing is, like, where I feel like I always kind of regret about, sorry, I bumped my mic there, that might have been loud, but one thing that I always feel like when my original upload in 2016, I don't talk about a lot of the like lore evidence. I just talk about like, there's evidence, and then I move on. And that's kind of silly. Because there is some legit good evidence that I could have brought up, but I just like didn't, and I just kind of went into the theory without actually backing up my evidence. So like that's one thing I would say, like more recent videos have certainly done better.
For sure. But I do think there is a problem with plagiarism in the community, and like in any other field, this would be considered plagiarism. Like if you publish the same scientific analysis, I mean, they would call that a peer review. Right. So like that's my problem with it, is that like I think that like one of the things that I did, what I wanted to do whenever I came into the community as a content creator, was to change the atmosphere, the community for the better. Like get people making theories again, get people to credit each other properly, you know? Because I think it's important. I think it's important that we all talk about each other's stuff, because all it does is boost up the whole community.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this earlier when we were just chatting before we started recording as well, but to sort of reiterate, even like there was one video I did, I remember, where like I mentioned the door, like a design on the door of a dungeon, and even that I was happily willing to shout out the fact that I didn't notice that until like our pal Laurulian like posted on Instagram a picture of the door and talking about it, like, oh, it has this pattern on it that's really unique. And so like, yeah, I wanted to include it in my video because I was talking about this dungeon and I wanted to talk about every little detail about this dungeon, and it was interesting. But I'm not just gonna like, of course I'm gonna shout him out when I talk about it, because like that's where I got that influence from, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, is like if you were to come up with analysis that, you know, like about something, like especially this Dragon Break, like, you know, like if I were to take that on as my headcanon, I would attribute that to you.
For sure.
Not to anybody else, right? Like, so I think that one of the things that I want everyone to consider is that when you're watching a video, if you notice that, like, you know, shout them out in the comments, you know, be like, hey, like, because maybe the content creator doesn't know, and I think that's on the content creator for not doing proper research in their field.
Yeah, I mean, even someone pointed that this is kind of on me, actually. I'll just out myself as like, because it's staring me in the face, my feed of videos that you have on your screen here. But like even one of my thumbnails was like similar to someone's, and like I didn't know. And obviously that video is performing very well, so I didn't want to change the thumbnail, to be honest, because that's probably contributing to it.
I mean, but like thumbnails have, I mean,
totally
like I could see the thing with thumbnails, but like, you know, like whenever it comes down to like like content, like, right, like research, content analysis, these kinds of things, right? Like
for sure. And I would say, like, even though my thumbnail is similar to someone else's, I watched their video after it was pointed out to me, and like our conclusions are pretty different. So I was like, okay, well, I don't feel like I ripped this person off though. But like we as far as visually goes, we had a similar idea. So I think that is possible to have, but you know, you have to also keep yourself aware of what else is going on within a growing community around you, right, as well.
Right. And I mean, like, one thing that I do personally is keep that topic on my radar. So like Temple of Time is something I'm going to do in a couple weeks. So I have it on my radar, because anybody who talks about it, like I want to see their videos so I can add it to my analysis, like, you know, and be able to be like, hey, this person did some pretty baller analysis, check it out. But in their video, they bring up this, and I really like that point, because I think it like adds more strength to my argument because of this, right? Like, because like all it does is strengthen each other's arguments at the end of the day. And even just commenting and being like, hey, this person also did a theory about that, and I think it adds to your analysis. Like, that YouTuber might not have realized, and that is on them, but they might not have realized that somebody else had done the same video. And just kind of going back and like, you know, like next time you talk about it, just like bring, like, because it brings all of us, you know, like if we're all mentioning each other's videos, it only helps all of us out, you know. For sure. Like,
no, I think, yeah, as a community, like, generally speaking, we're stronger together, you know. And that sounds cliche, but I genuinely believe it, that like if creators support each other, we all come out on top. People find new channels that they might enjoy watching. We get more interesting conversation because we're not just echoing our own thoughts throughout our head. We can bounce ideas. We can, you know.
And for people who are just like in it in that moment, you know, and they just want more content about that subject. Yeah. Like when you bring up like, oh yeah, this other person has videos, like I'm clicking, I know what I'm putting on my watch later, you know?
Oh, totally.
Totally. So I think that's a good part of it too, is just like, you know, just being able to like, you know, just for the people who want to like continue watching more content. Cause like I'm one of those people, I'm not gonna lie, like I'd be watching everything. Like I watch everybody's videos. To be honest, I watch yours, Wiz, Saria, Drake and Wild. The list goes on forever and ever. But I seriously just really do actually watch everyone's content. Because like that's always been first for me, is like being like, I don't know, I guess like I really just enjoy watching theories. Like that's why I started making them myself, for instance. But like whenever I came to the community, like I'm coming from the background of being in the Air Force as a photojournalist, and like you could get kicked out for plagiarizing. Like that, it was a very serious offense. So it was always like of utmost importance to me to like properly credit. I even still feel bad about not crediting you for your dragon break theory in my first video, because I literally I spent days on it, and I had Charlie try to help me find it, and then I'm not gonna hold it against you. I know, but it's just kind of like just going to that level of like I don't know, that's like the level I personally go to. So maybe my opinions are really strong on the matter, but like I really think that people, like, ignorance is not a, how do you say it? Like, ignorance isn't a argument against,
Yeah, no, I can't think of how the phrase goes, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, like I don't know. I really liked your Dragon Break theory. I really liked it originally. Now I've seen all the videos, and it's like, I wanted to bring credit where credit's due in this case, because like it is your theory, it's your original idea, you were the first one to link it together, and regardless of any videos that come to the same conclusions, I think it's a powerful thing. Like I'm glad that you like were able to make this connection, because now everyone's talking about how true it probably is. It's just like you're just like, oh, that's me. Like
no, it is, like I said, it's validating in a way to hear all these people talking about this idea that I was like, I had years ago, and everyone was like, that doesn't make sense. So, maybe I didn't articulate it well enough back then, or maybe just like people I feel like it was perfectly
articulated, man. It just like, it didn't get viewed I got viewed by 90,000 people apparently, but like, maybe everybody forgot by then. I don't know. It's just weird, but like, I wanted to bring attention to it, especially during this podcast, because I think it's an incredible theory. Like, first and foremost, like I think it's great.
I mean, it's really just like I stole the lore from Elder Scrolls and applied it to Zelda, right?
Whatever, man.
But it works. I mean, I think it's it's weird too. Is like people are like, well, that's how it works in Elder Scrolls, but that's not how it works in Zelda. And I'm like, but why not? Why can't it? It's fiction, man. Like, these are all just legends.
These are all just legends anyway.
But it's like, why do we draw that line in the sand of like, this can work in one series, but it can't work in another? Like, why not? Why not? They're both fantasy series, right? It's not like, so it's, it's weird that there was a lot of hangups that I've seen. A lot of people I've even had people just outright being like, that's not how time travel works. And I'm like, well, I don't know, but Majora's Mask happens, and that's a dragon break. That's a convergence for sure.
Basically a dragon break.
So,
well, with that, I was going to wrap up. Thank you, Captain Burgerson, for being a part of this podcast. I'd love to have you back anytime. I love you.
I'm happy to be here.
But with that, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Expect more of these down the road. These are just kind of low maintenance, casual podcasts, and I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being a part of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Is there anything you want to promote? Socials, yell them out. Go ahead. Like, put it on the list.
You can follow me across all social medias. That even includes
put
Threads.
them up on the screen now too. Twitter. I think you have like a Twitter, right? I think I follow you on that.
No,
sorry, X. My bad, X.
I'm not calling it that, but we got Twitter, Instagram, even Threads.
No, all the Gen Z call it X now, so you're just behind the curve. It's fine. Boomer.
But no, my millennial ass will call it Twitter forever.
Okay, so your Twitter, you got like what, Facebook for boomers?
Actually,
you got a YouTube channel.
There's no Facebook for Cap Burgerson, but
do you have a Discord?
I do have a Discord
too?
though. Yeah, you're in it.
Send me
girl.
Wait, am I?
You're in it,
man. I silence all notifications, man. You know.
You're in it, bro. But yeah, everything I'll shout out is
Probably.
it's all Capt Burgerson, CaptBurgerson. And yeah, go check out my YouTube. I stream twice a week. I got some videos.
And the streams are fire. I'm always like KekW. You need to add the KekW, bro. Like I just be typing out KekW. I'm like, please, for the love of God, I need it. I just need to be able to KekW at you.
I think I need to actually like unlock more emotes through YouTube.
too.
Like I think that's
so you should join his channel members as well if you love Captain Burgerson's content. You know, I'm a channel member. I got the Burgerson emotes.
Dope.
I do.
It's appreciated. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching, and see you in the next one.